We agree with the Inspector General of Police that the National Police Service is an independent office and only receives directives or directions from the Ministry of Interior pertaining policy directions. But the IG will not be able to convince the country that the decision to refuse appearing before the Justice Lawrence Mugambi is a decision that he arrived at independently without the blessings of the executive. And that is why a decision by the judges to walk out of all state cases, or rather paralyze operations at the judiciary, is, according to me, the best language that the executive will hear if they're not tear-gassed. And I would want us to listen to Martha Koome, because I think there is something that Martha Koome just needs to get clear.
The act of withdrawing the security of a sitting judge following a judicial decision that displeased certain authorities is deeply concerning. It sends a chilling message to the judiciary and indeed to the public at large, that those entrusted with upholding justice and safeguarding our rights can be intimidated, that judges can be bullied or retaliated against for their rulings. Such actions erode public trust in the independence of the courts. They also undermine the very foundation of our constitutional democracy and pose a risk to disregard of our institutions and descents to lawlessness. If dissatisfied with a judicial decision, the appropriate recourse is to appeal to a higher court. Indeed, we are aware that an appeal has already been filed and is waiting to be heard and determined. We caution, however, that retaliatory measures against a judge or judicial officers have no place.
It is not magical science to see clearly. You don't need some magical lenses to see that the reason why the security details of Justice Mugambi were altered is because that judge passed a verdict for the police boss to be jailed for 6 months for the contempt of court. The police boss was summoned to appear in person so that he can answer some queries on 3 Kenyans that were abducted. And after absconding all those 6 summons, the magistrate had no option but to jail the police boss for 6 months in jail. He's supposed to be escorted to jail for contempt. And in fact, they appealed that decision. And that is the reason why Justice Mugambi's security was withdrawn. There is no other reason about it. But I would want to remind Martha Koome, the CJ, that whatever is happening is a repeat of what we warned her in January 2021. If you can refresh your memory, towards the end of December 2023 and the first week of January, the first 3 weeks of January, William Ruto went on top of the car in campaign rallies, telling the country that judiciary was the weakest link on Kenya Kwanza administration to deliver its mandate, because there was a cahoot of judges that had formed a cartel to jeopardize government agendas. And we warned Martha Koome, because Martha Koome held a closed-door meeting with the president in State House, and we warned the president of the court, the judiciary, that it was a political blunder. It was a big blunder to have that dalliance with the executive. The best point there would be is not, there is no constitutional provision that requires or demands that the CJ must be a friend to the executive. And we said that friendship is not in good note, and hapa mbele she will regret. It has not taken a year before the president to come and call a press briefing, because it is very clear that the other arm is interfering. And if you want to know that what we are seeing as just a Masengeli and Lawrence Mugambi case is more than that, the CJ should listen to the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, when he was speaking in Bungoma. There is something Moses Wetangula said, and I want us to listen to it.
The Supreme Court has directed that IEBC means commissioners and not the secretariat. So without commissioners, we cannot move. I also want to appeal to the Chief Justice that all the cases that are in court legitimately challenging this process, please fast track them, give them priority so that we can be able to finish them and have an IEBC in place. As we reopen Parliament, of course, there are many issues that Parliament is going to deal with, including but not limited to the need to consolidate resources on education.
The Speaker is blaming the courts, that it is the courts that have been, have made it difficult for government for the Kenya Kwanza administration to constitute the new IEBC. So they are clearly blaming the court for that. So you see where things are coming. Already, there is some simmering bad blood. The judiciary is already being profiled. And so part of what is going on is part of that blame game. And this matter has been politicized. I've consistently, I analyzed when I was in Kilifi the other day, that I think you listened the clip by a clique of Western leaders who said that Masengeli being jailed is just, he's being sacrificed for things he didn't do while he was in office. Well, those abductions happened while he was in office, and that he's being targeted because IG Kanja, who is supposed to, who was supposed to pass through vetting and be okayed as the new IG, could be having issues, and if Kanja is suspended, does not take that position, then the next in line is Masengeli. But we said that if someone is advising Masengeli that he should not appear in court, and so even if there is contempt, there will be no problem. And if there is a potential of that stopping him from rising to the highest office, then that advisor should be wrong. And the reason why I'm saying this has a blessing of the executive is this. If the IG knows very well that saizi ako katika ile, he is in a situation, he's a candidate to be an IG, to be the IG. If he knows he's a candidate to be the IG, then this is the time that he will be very disciplined and would have really followed the law to his letter, because at one point, if he's to be promoted to be IG, he will have to undergo through the vetting. And if he undergoes through the vetting, then this issue of contempt of court will supposed to appear. We are saying that that office is independent, but who appoints IG? Is the president. After the vetting process is the National Assembly. Where's the independence of that office? It cannot be independent kama wenyewe wanachaguanga. No. Vetting is done in Parliament, President appoints. So that person is an employee of the president by the virtue of that constitution. I've always been saying, anyone mwenye president anasign signature yake ya mwisho, that person is appointed by the president, even if you talk about independence. But And listen to his side of the story. He's saying that Justice Mugambi should not cry because the security detail was not even replaced, was not withdrawn, it was just replaced.
I would like to say that, contrary to the allegation by the Judicial Service Commission yesterday that the security details assigned to the Honorable Justice Mugambi has been drawn to intimidate the judge, we wish to clarify that allegation were ill-intended. Other than the President, the Deputy President, and the retired presidents, no other Kenyans are entitled by the law to be provided with the personal security detail. Owing to the role of the Judiciary, the National Police Service recently established the Judicial Police Unit purposely for protection of the Judiciary and its officials. In case of Honorable Justice Mugambi, the two security officers in question are general duty officers, and they were therefore recalled to attend VIP protection security training, and also were replaced by two VIP protection officers from the Judicial Police Unit.
Before deciding,
mambo yaliyo kotini hatuongei kwa mitandao. Asanteni.
So who is saying the truth? Who is saying the truth? Do we want to believe that Martha Koome can raise the alarm, plus the judge, can raise the alarm if there is no problem? And yes, I agree. You know, there's one thing that the security bosses, they need to be a little bit creative, because they normally use that narrative all the time. You know, when something like that happens, even when security details of VIPs are withdrawn, and they're asked, they will say, it is a usual routine. I remember Mateng used to say that thing all the time. It is a usual routine to rotate. It is a usual routine. It is something we normally do. So we need to ask, how many were rotated? And what about that coincidence? And they try to convince the country that we should not look at that coincidence because it has happened that time. It is something that the NPS does all the time. True, it could be possible they do that all the time. But that cannot be a strong ground to say that because it is done all the time, the country should not question. The issue of country questioning that move cannot be put under the wraps. And I like this. I want us to get to the judges. They spoke tough about this, and even saying that they will stop at nothing but to ensure that IG Masengeli, acting IG Masengeli, is not even is declared unfit to hold any public office.
We therefore demand of the National Police Service Commission, pursuant to provisions of Article 146(3) of the Constitution, the immediate reinstatement of the judges, driver, and security. We demand of the Inspector General, as the ultimate duty bearer, the immediate and unequivocal apology, together with an assurance that such will not be repeated under his watch and tenure. We have copied this statement to the Independent Police Oversight Authority as a complaint against Inspector Riri. On behalf of the judges of the Superior Courts of Kenya, we reaffirm that our duty and obligation to the nation and its citizens to impartially do justice in accordance with the Constitution without favor, fear, bias, affection, ill will, prejudice, or any political influence remain even more resolute and unwavered. We take this as an acceptable direct onslaught on the judge's office, an undisguised threat and intimidation to the judge as a consequence of his discharge of judicial duty. We see it as an onslaught on both the Constitution and the rule of law. It is an assault on the office of all judges in Kenya and the institution they serve. We see Inspector Riri as the face and instrument of this violation and the only disclosed offender, and now issue a notice that we shall take all legal measures, including moving the court to declare him unfit to hold a public office. We remind Inspector Riri that he, the officers he has withdrawn, and all his superiors, including the Inspector General, like all public and state officers, work for Kenyans and merely execute a delegated mandate from the people.
Now, three things I've seen in the papers. I've seen one of the lawyers was even suggesting, was telling the judges, was telling the High Court, the Judiciary, that they have to do three things. And this is something that was even on table last time when this is an option that was available last time when the executive rose against this team. They rose against the judiciary and were framing judiciary to be saboteurs, so people that are sabotaging the government. The best language, there is one thing, number one, Masengeli is not his own man. He cannot, it is not possible for that move to be done if there is no Godfather. Because he also knows that at the end of the day, even his job is at stake. Yes. He knows that kama hana protection ya executive and bit legislature, then this contempt can be enough, can be a good ground for him to be impeached, for him to be removed from that office. Someone writes a petition to Parliament. Parliament probes, and then the process of removing him from office takes shape. So, it is not Masengeli. One thing that Martha Koome should understand is that the language, the person is fighting with is not the IG, is the president. It is William Ruto. And there is a message that William Ruto is sending. The justice should ensure that William Ruto is sending a message that if you pass a verdict against me, then I'm also coming for you. That's what has happened anyway. Masengeli jailed the police boss. The police boss is now saying, oh, we replaced, and I'm wondering whether the public are going to trust them. In the first place, our gender koti, and as they're saying, no, we are not going to discuss that. And looking at that, he's not going. By the way, if you ask me, he will not go to court. So, the best language executive will understand is downing tools, just like the other civil servants did. Because a message has been relayed. If you pass a verdict against government, then I will also revise it. And that is why we said that all that meeting that Martha Koome was going to have in State House with the president, all that was for the public gallery, was to cease fire so that you kitu ishe. But in real sense, there was nothing that really she achieved. Now, the thing they should do, and that is what one of the judges is saying there, they should withdraw and don't accept to appear and hear any state-sponsored case. There are cases on Huduma number, there are so many land cases, there are so many cases on policy, even there's a case on housing levy. All those cases, they can actually decline to hear because, there is that provision. The moment they do that, the government will now go to plan B. Because it can't be, it's a wrong precedence that if I make some judgment against you, then you retaliate by withdrawing my security. And in fact, now it is one person withdrawing security. What will be next? What will be next? Withdrawing security is one. How about if they decide, okay, this time round, tunafanya hii. So that bit of retaliation, the retaliations in it is what the judiciary must really look into. I repeat, the police boss cannot decline to go to court without the blessings of the executive. The police boss cannot withdraw the security of the judge without the blessings of the executive because there is a pending risk on his job. So, there is a message that William Ruto wants to achieve, wants to communicate to Martha Koome. Ruto is unhappy with the finance bill verdict by last month. Remember the verdict that suspended the 2023 finance bill and 2022 one. Actually, the 2023 finance bill was halted and is supposed to be up for hearing the next. There is a verdict that is supposed to come in the next 1 month or so. So the current finance bill that we used, that one for 2023. Okay, there was some court injunction against that. But Ruto was supposed to use the 2022 one, ile ya Uhuru. And probably they're not happy about it. So the animosity is back. The other thing, the state has successfully shifted this case. Remember where the starting point was. Civil society organizations went to court suing the state against the abductions. Then the police boss appeared not to go there, declined to go. After declining, the case now emerged as a contempt of court against Masengeli. Now that is the charge that Masengeli is now facing, contempt of court. And after that contempt of court, now it has now emerged as security withdrawal. So what have they achieved? They are tactically diverting the intensity on that case. You know, like ile kesi ilikuwa kubwa ni police boss to appear and explain about those Kenyans that disappeared. But successfully, they are diverting the attention and they're eroding the context of the case on abductions. And lastly, the acrimony within the justice system is a crisis that is being brought up. So that what will end up is President Ruto saying we want to miss police boss in the executive, in the judiciary, and the legislature. That is what the president always wanted, because we've always said that the 2010 constitution envisions on how cooperation between different state agencies and arms of government, how executive is relating with judiciary is well enshrined in that constitution. How the executive is relating with parliament is there. How the independent bodies that like NPS is relating with the executive and the parliament and judiciary is all there. But there've always been an attempt to create some comfort zone so that people can sit down and talk. I think what the judges should do is to down their tools and make sure they don't hear any state-sponsored cases. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my take. Thank you. And by the way, who do you believe? Do you believe IG or Koome? Kwamba IG na Koome anasema IG is saying they didn't withdraw, they replaced. Koome and the team are saying they were withdrawn. Who is saying the truth?